You know that moment when someone says something that makes you uncomfortable? It hurts, and yet all you can do is give an awkward smile? Often, situations like this leave a weight inside us. That feeling of, maybe I should have responded differently, or did I let them cross the line? Most of us have been in this position at some point, wondering what to do when we feel respect has been broken. We know it's easier to avoid confrontation, to pretend nothing happened, but that feeling stays inside. It becomes even more complicated because, besides dealing with the other person's disrespect, we start blaming ourselves, thinking maybe our react should have been different. Is there a healthy way to handle disrespect without letting it consume us emotionally? Research shows that self-respect is strongly linked to self-esteem and is shaped by our moral conduct, rather than social approval or performance evaluations. When we respond to a situation of disrespect, we're also affirming our principles and values. According to this study, self-respect functions as an essential component of self-esteem, sustained by actions aligned with our moral values, independent of external approval. This study reminds us that by setting boundaries based on what we consider right, we're nurturing not only our self-respect, but also a more genuine and lasting self-esteem. When someone disrespects us, we often feel a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, or even a kind of guilt for not knowing how to respond. This happens because at its core, respect is not just a social matter, it's a human need. It's directly tied to how we see ourselves and our self-worth. So when we feel disrespected, it's as if part of our worth has been attacked. Curiously, much of this discomfort stems from a deep desire to be accepted, to avoid conflict at all costs. We end up absorbing others' disrespect because we fear rejection, preferring to avoid the situation rather than risk a response. It's like being stuck in a cycle where, by trying to be pleasant or kind, we end up ignoring how we truly feel. Why does this keep happening? Because often we grow up with the idea that it's not right to assert ourselves or show discomfort. We accumulate these small instances of disrespect, not realizing that respecting ourselves is the first step to earning respect from ourselves and then from others. The article, Why Laughter is Harmful and Insincere, explores how laughter can sometimes be an insincere way to handle pain and can be an act of exclusion. We might even try to laugh at something that hurts us, but in reality, it can have the opposite effect, reinforcing the disrespect we feel. In situations like this, laughter becomes a defense mechanism, a way to keep the peace, even if that peace costs our self-esteem. This behavior is also a form of adaptation, a way to fit in rather than confront. The lesson here? That laughing or ignoring the problem often doesn't make it go away, and the internal pain can grow even deeper. When it comes to disrespect and how it affects us, there's an interesting psychological mechanism at play. Our brain, in an attempt to protect us, often goes into survival mode, putting everything in absolute terms. Either I'm strong and stay silent, or I'm weak and can't handle this. This extreme thinking is something our mind creates to cope with the situation, but in the end, it makes us believe that we have to endure disrespect to avoid further conflicts or embarrassment. This all-or-nothing mindset also impacts our self-perception. If someone disrespects us and we don't respond effectively, it's common to think, maybe I deserve this, or I don't know how to stand up for myself. This creates a sense of guilt that builds up, and over time, we start believing that to keep the peace, it's better to swallow the disrespect. And you know what's worse? This excessive self-criticism puts us in a position where we question our own worth, thinking that our response to disrespect defines who we are. The brain believes it's protecting us, but this protection actually weakens us emotionally. Every time we accept this kind of behavior without questioning it, our self-esteem takes a hit, as if we're validating that, in some way, it's acceptable. And that's where the real work begins, understanding how to break this cycle and start protecting our own respect in a healthy way. With each episode, our perception of ourselves and our relationships erodes. The problem is, by pretending we're okay or laughing along, we end up reinforcing this behavior, both for ourselves and for others. This makes the social environment less safe and interactions more exhausting, highlighting just how important it is to set boundaries to prevent this cycle from repeating. When someone disrespects you, the first step is to avoid giving any sign of approval, whether by laughing along or responding passively. Keeping a neutral expression or simply not reacting makes it clear that the comment wasn't well received. Often, this is enough for the person to notice and, in an attempt to soften the situation, say the famous, "just kidding." At this moment, it's important to stay calm and reaffirm your boundaries without getting drawn into a justification game. Something simple, like, "I understand you meant it as a joke, but I didn't feel comfortable with that comment." This response acknowledges the other's intent, but lets them know the situation had a real impact on you. It allows you to protect your space in a firm and calm manner, without turning it into a confrontation, but making clear that boundaries need to be respected. As Alexander Lowen said, without the ability to say no, consent is merely a form of submission. The next step is to reinforce these boundaries consistently. Maintaining this practice is what truly transforms how we relate to self-respect. An effective strategy is to reflect on situations after they happen. How did we feel? What worked in our reaction? And what can we improve? This habit of constant assessment helps us refine how we handle these situations, making adjustments as needed. Moreover, it's important to recognize our progress along the way. Each time we manage to stand up for ourselves with clarity, we're actually building a stronger relationship with our self-esteem. This transformation process isn't linear, and it's normal to feel discomfort when setting these boundaries at first. However, over time, that initial discomfort trains us to develop a growing sense of self-confidence. Have you ever had to swallow a comment or a laugh that made you uncomfortable? It happens more often than we realize, and talking about these experiences can be so liberating. If you'd like, share in the comments a moment when you felt respect was broken. How did you respond? Let's swap ideas and help each other build up our self-respect. Give this video a thumbs up if this message resonated with you, and let's learn to respond with both strength and grace, because our worth is above any careless, thoughtless joke.